there are parts of the Medicare Advantage program that should be the absolute poster children for how we should manage care in this country, and those are highly physician engaged, very closed network. You know, the challenge with those is they don't scale very well, they don't work in every geography, but in the geographies where they do work, I think they've been incredibly successful, and ultimately if we're going to solve some of the healthcare spending issues, a lot of which are around chronically ill seniors, they have to be a meaningful part of the problem. You know, the government has done a little bit of a disservice to that program through the private fee-for-service program, which is just, you know, as a taxpayer, it's marginally outrageous. I mean, you just there's very little incremental benefit other than acclimating people to private plans, hoping that at some point they'll shift into more of a closed network. But there's just an enormous government expenditure going to providing people essentially the same package of benefits or more benefits than they would be getting through the traditional fee-for-service program. Yeah, I think what works in Medicare, it goes to the same question you asked, which has managed care done a good job broadly. And I think given the constraints that we have as a society have imposed on managed care, they've done a very admirable job. I think there's a much larger fundamental philosophical societal question that we have to answer about what type of restrictions are we going to allow on our choice in healthcare, what type of rationing are we going to allow, and these are questions we're going to face there's no political will to deal with it now, but at some point the arithmetic is just going to overwhelm the inertia. And you know, it was a pretty blunt instrument, but in the early 90s, mid-90s, managed care tried to control some of these costs much more aggressively. Not all the ways they did it were terrific, but you know, we as a society went absolutely ballistic, and we prevailed on our politicians to intervene. And you know, so we now have a system where, yeah, at its core, these are basically transaction processing companies and contracting companies. There's not, you know, managed care has become a misnomer, except in certain pockets like the one that Ben indicated. So, but ultimately, I think the managed care companies have now consolidated. They've gotten a lot more market power. These are very well-run companies. I think if the regulatory political framework is there for them to implement, I think some of the more challenging types of policies that they're going to have to implement if we're going to control costs, I think they'll be successful. The alternative is you just scrap everything and the government takes over the whole thing. And you know, we can have a long debate about which of those paths makes sense. But I think my sense, and my crystal ball is not any better than anyone else, is they're going to end up being a part of the solution because they have to be.